Hello, everyone. I am John Howe. I'm the financial planner here at Generation Capital Management, and this is another episode of John's Top Tips. Today, we're going to be talking about a budget, creating a budget, kind of starting a budget, and some of the little intricacies that go into that. First off, we're going to start off by figuring out basically what you have at your disposal in terms of income. Of course, we know that the government has to get their share of your paycheck, which stinks, but it's a fact of life. So it's really worth it to make sure that we understand how much we have at our disposal when we're trying to figure out what our actual expenses can be. The next step that we're going to do is we're going to actually take a look at those expenses. We're going to figure out both what our fixed expenses are and what our discretionary expenses are. So your fixed expenses are those expenses that are those constant expenses. They're the expenses that you know that you're going to have every single month. This is things like electricity, your heat bill, your cable, your internet, those types of things, your rent, your mortgage. And then there's a little subcategory in there that are kind of variable fixed expenses. So these are things like gas, groceries, things that are going to change on a week-to-week basis, but you know you're going to have to spend them in order to live. And then also we have our discretionary expenses. Those are expenses that we don't necessarily need to spend, but they're kind of our wants. They're the things that we want to do that kind of make life a little bit more worth living. But we need to calculate both of those. They're both very important to figuring out what our budget is. Then once we get that total number, we're going to take a look back over the 12 months of the past spending and see exactly what we did spend. There are a couple of different ways to do this. You can do this with receipts and things like that, but the very easiest way is to go back into your bank account statements and pull the last 12 months of your bank account statements and actually go through and add those up. There should be a tally in there of what your total expenses were on each statement. Then you add all 12 of those months up, and that'll give you what your total expenses were over the past 12 months. Then what we do is we take a big step back and we compare the result that we got in tip number 3 and the result that we got in tip number 2. And they should match pretty closely. If they don't match, that means that what you think you're spending and what you're actually spending are two different numbers, and that there's a difference between the two of those. A lot of times what we find is that people spend more than they think they do. So that's why we recommend going through the process of actually both manually computing your budget and seeing what you've actually spent over the past 12 months. It's a long process. It's an involved process, but it's definitely worth it. It'll help to put you on some solid footing. Your budget acts as kind of the foundation of the rest of your financial life. If you need some help with this, you can feel free to visit our website, gencapmgmt.com. Under our resource center, we have a ton of resources to help you out with this. We actually have a financial expense worksheet that you can use to go line by line and help you figure out exactly what your expenses look like on a regular basis. You can go in, put in your information, and we'll send that document right to your inbox, help you figure out all of your expenses. In the meantime, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to one of us here at Generation Capital Management. We'd be more than happy to help you. Again, my name is John Howe, financial planner here, and this was another episode of John's Top Tips.